Hey everyone, Dahlia the Handmade Mastermind here. I wanted to do this video on Shopify versus WordPress for a few different reasons. One of the major reasons is because a lot of members, a lot of people who are in online business obviously want to eventually do a website, whether you're selling on Etsy and Amazon and you're ready to like grow up and of course have your own website. You don't know which one to choose. Now, of course, there are other website providers such as Wix and Squarespace, etc. And we're not talking about those today. We'll probably do it in another video, but I wanted to go over Shopify versus WordPress, as this seems to be one of the most popular questions when people are picking their own website platform. And I've broken it down into several different things I want to discuss, such as cost, ease of use, customization, themes, and maybe something else. So let's get started. The first thing I want to mention before I get started is that, you know, I use WordPress, and I'm going to start off by saying this. I actually don't recommend WordPress. And we're going to go over the Shopify versus WordPress situation. And you can make your own determination. And that's great. Everybody could be different. But, you know, I don't recommend WordPress because, and even though I use it, because of the several reasons I'm going to go over, and you'll see why. But the reason why I still use it is because I built my website a long time ago. It functions great. There was a learning curve that was very rough, but because I spent so much money on it, I don't want to have to deal with the hassle of going to a Shopify, okay? But more about that in a minute. So the first thing is cost. So when you look at WordPress website does not cost you anything. That's cool. However, you have to pay for your own hosting, and hosting could vary, guys. It could vary. I mean, you could go to GoDaddy for hosting, SiteGround. I use SiteGround. It's what I believe to be more reliable. And there's a few other ones, Bluehost or things like that. And I've heard some pro and cons of each, but I found SiteGround to be, in my opinion, the most reliable. And it does come with a price point when you first start out using SiteGround or any other hosting place. Usually it's a nice introductory fee, and then after you finish introductory time frame, which is like a year or something, then the price goes up, okay? So just know that WordPress website is not completely for free. You have to have hosting, okay? And of course, one more thing I want to mention is that, you know, getting sales on the website, it doesn't cost you anything on WordPress, but using a payment gateway obviously may. I use PayPal, and so of course it's PayPal transaction fees. You guys know that, I'm sure. So that's another piece that nobody could avoid using a payment gateway. And I personally pay an extra $30 a month for PayPal Payments Pro, which allows PayPal to be integrated in my website without having the customer leave my website when they want to check out, log on to PayPal, pay, and then come back to my website. I feel that, no, there's stats that prove that conversion rate can drop when doing so. So it's integrated, and it looks like you're checking out directly my website, even though it's using PayPal. Okay, now that's WordPress. Shopify, you do pay. You pay monthly, and there's a few different plans, okay? I think the cheapest one is like $29, and then there's $79, and there's more. So there's a monthly charge, and there, of course, is transaction fees, okay? They have to obviously use a payment gateway, so that's not for free anywhere you go. So that's also considered. Now, you might say, Dahlia, you know, Shopify has a month, you know, both of them have to pay for the payment gateway, okay? A transaction fee. Yeah, but Shopify has to pay monthly. I don't have to do that for WordPress. So why would I pick WordPress? Well, there's a few things I also want to go over, not just the cost that may lean you toward one direction or another. But just remember, there's also hosting you're paying on WordPress. On Shopify, you don't pay for hosting. It's within the platform, okay? So that's that. And one more hidden cost you may run into on WordPress is paying for somebody to help you with the site. Whether it be building the site, whether it be adjusting something because it's not user-friendly, which we'll get into in a second, you may find that as a hidden cost. And the amount I spent on it in big chunks, if you spread it throughout the 12 months of the year, I would probably, I should have went for Shopify. Okay, so consider that. There is a cost difference, but when you do the math, it's not a crazy amount when you just consider the hosting price compared to the monthly cost, okay? But you're gonna see the monthly cost, how the other things I'm gonna go over, it will benefit you, because you're not gonna be paying for it later in stress and in fees and having somebody help you out. So that's the cost. Number 2 is the ease of use. I can't tell you I can't tell you how many times I've had nightmares, I'm not even kidding you, nightmares for my website. I built my website, not myself, a web designer, many years ago. I'm gonna say 3 years ago. It's not many, but 3 years ago or so, I forget when. And because the user face is so difficult to use, especially for people that are new to online business. I'm not new to online business, but still, it was fairly difficult to use. There's quite a learning curve. And there's certainly tutorials out there and things like that, but it's still more difficult compared to its competitors, such as Shopify. And so when it comes to ease of use, I found it to be more complicated. I find some facets of the ease of use to be more complicated, again, in comparison to other platforms and on its own. Like for me, WordPress, I'm getting more used to it now, so I'm able to update plugins and do certain things, but the maintenance of it, sorry, let me write that down as another topic. Maintenance will be another topic. But as far as the ease of use and understanding how to utilize your website, putting up variations, putting up this, putting up that, I find it to be difficult. And this is my opinion. Again, I find that most members that are, creating online shops say that there is quite a learning curve with WordPress. Now for Shopify, this is why they're famous. The ease of use is fantastic. It's really easy to use. I'm sure there's a learning curve to everything. Nobody was born knowing how to create websites. So there's a learning curve to something. Like if you get my mom on a computer, it doesn't matter. She won't know how to create a Shopify site, but on the flip side, you may know how to, right? However, I find that with most online business owners, Shopify is fairly easy, especially if you have some experience with Amazon or Etsy. It's easier to go into. Now, just for the record, we're not talking about other platforms here, but so is Squarespace and so is Wix. It tends to be a plug-and-play type of website, and it's just not difficult to use. There are some things you could do within your Shopify store, such as using apps and things. And again, I find it very difficult not very difficult, some things are easy when it comes to apps on WordPress, but I've heard from members that Shopify plugins or apps, whatever you call it, can be difficult depending on what it is. But of course, if it's a more complicated thing you want done on your website, obviously it might be more complicated. So just to go into the topic of ease of use, the next thing I want to talk about is themes. Utilizing themes on both. Themes are like little packages that allow you to have a website look a certain way as opposed to starting from scratch, okay? I'm not building my house from scratch. I'm able to get some floor plans so I know where things fit, and it makes it easier. So I don't have experience building my website, so I can't tell you anything about the themes, but I do know that based on what my members tell me, Shopify is fairly easy to plug and play. You pick a theme and you just adjust small things within it. I can't tell you for WordPress because I did not build my website. I'm gonna take a little ramen noodle break. Okay, I'm back from my noodle break. All right, so we went over ease of use. Now for maintenance, this is a very big deal for me. Websites are not like Etsy and Amazon. When you sell on your own website, you're responsible for that website. Even if you are completely self-hosted like WordPress or not self-hosted like Shopify or Squarespace or Wix. Maintenance for keeping up with your website on Etsy and Amazon is much easy. That's what you pay your fees for Etsy and Amazon to do. When you're on your own website, you maintain it. Certainly, Shopify maintains the hosting for you. You paid for that. And a few probably other factors. But in general, you need to do some things on your own. So when looking at WordPress, the maintenance is horrific. It's It's hard when you are newer to having your own website. It's hard to articulate here, but what you need to do for maintenance, the biggest part I find is to be the trouble is plugins. You have to update your plugins often. Every flipping 5 minutes, I feel like a plugin needs to be updated because the person that created it has a new update, which is great. They're trying to make things better. But sometimes plugins don't work well together. It's like bringing a new dog into our house when you already have a dog. It doesn't work well together, and you have to test them out to make sure they work well together. If you don't, something could not be working well on your site. Something can be broken. What does that mean? If I have a plugin that automatically calculates shipping, for example, and I have another plugin that, you know, does something else, like, you know, creates variations for weights, so then I could actually charge the correct shipping. If I create updates for, you know, have updates for both, and one of them doesn't work well, then it could screw the other, okay? This is a nightmare, because what does that mean? When I update plugins, I have to keep checking that every single facet of my business, my website works? Yeah. Now, some people do outsource this and get people to do it for them. It could get costly. Again, why I would probably even choose Shopify, because all that cost, you could have easily had something much more easier to maintain, and just chose Shopify. So that's the biggest headache, the biggest. And when something breaks, sometimes it's very hard to understand what went wrong. I mean, if you don't create automatic backups of your site, that can even be worse, because you don't have nothing to refer back to. I have backups of my site every single day, so if something breaks tomorrow, I could go back a few days from now, a few days ago, and reinstate that version of it. Great, but not everybody has that. Moreover, you still don't know what the hell went wrong. And if you don't update your plugins, this could give you, this could give hackers better access to hack your website, because things are not kept up to date. That could cause issues, from what I heard, okay? This includes also the WordPress platform. Woocommerce or WordPress goes through updates as well, the general platform, so you have to also update that. And again, sometimes apps and plugins don't work well with the new update. Oh my goodness, like, I don't know if you're listening to this and saying, okay, or you're like, want to pull out your hair. If you don't want to pull out your hair, you probably don't understand, because you don't have the website. It is a lot of freaking work. Even if you don't have a very busy website, my website makes, I don't know, I think it'll make 40 or 50 this year, 50,000. I don't know exactly, but that's a decent amount. Even when last year didn't make as much, it's still a headache. It's still a headache worrying if one day you're sending traffic to your website and things are not converting because people can't check out. It's happened to me before. It's crazy. So the maintenance of it with the plugins and updates and all this stuff, no thanks. Now, from what I heard in Shopify, you don't have to deal with that. Because you pay monthly, you don't have to deal with all that maintenance stuff. I mean, obviously, if a plugin you have doesn't perform the way you want to, get rid of it, get a better one. It has nothing to do with maintenance. I just feel that with the headache, I know this video seems very biased, and I keep going toward Shopify than WordPress. And I promise it's not sponsored, but I just feel very passionate because I went through such a huge headache in regards to having a WordPress site. The maintenance part was probably is one, I think one of the biggest nightmares I had with WordPress, and then of course ease of use. Okay, that's the biggest. Now, what does this word say? Oh, I mentioned themes already. I do want to go back to one more thing, the ease of use. A lot of times when I find something that helps my customer convert better, I will adjust it. That could be on Etsy, that could be on Amazon, it could be my variations, it could be something, okay? Or something that makes more sense based on how the customer shops, creating filters, there's a whole bunch of things. I do this often. So when I get insight, I'm like, I should probably do or this and that, or something that will help the customer shop better, right? It's all about bounce rate, keep lowering that, keeping conversions high, making more money. When I have an insight to my website to like fix something, again, I have WordPress, I don't even know where to begin. And sometimes it takes hours on hours, which I'm trying to learn it myself, because I've had a few WordPress guys try to help me, IT guys, and sometimes they stop doing it. Like they're no longer in business to work on their WordPress site, and they become unreliable, meaning that's it. I'm done. They're done. They don't want to work anymore as WordPress people. They have nobody else to go to. So I learned to trust them. And that's it. They don't want to work as WordPress people anymore. So I tend to just skip the hassle and teach myself by watching videos, testing, learning, and it could be time consuming and a struggle. The point is, when I have an idea to make my website perform better, fix it, to give my customer a better user experience, it could be hell. Now, I don't think it's super duper easy on Shopify based on, again, what my members say. You have to find the right plugin or the right app to attach to make it work. So it's really the research of finding out which app would be the best, okay? Or you could go to Shopify app like developers and they could create codes for you. It costs some money. But that's the biggest headache I see in conjunction with maintaining my website, make sure the plugins work. It's getting certain things to function a certain way. I have a to-do list of things. Again, it's all about priority that I can't get done just yet because I'm trying to figure out the best way to execute it with little knowledge of how to freaking use WordPress. And the thing is, in any website, you don't want to bog it down with a million different plugins that can make your website go slow. Things could, a plugin could be really funky and it's a mess. And so for Shopify, I do want to say something. A lot of Shopify plugins do cost something, either a flat fee or a monthly fee. So your fee of $29 a month can easily jump to $50 a month if you have certain plugins. So please consider that. But again, I still think it's absolutely worth it because you don't have to deal with the stress and the headache of having somebody maintain it for you, paying them, not knowing how to do it, wasting time how to make your website convert better. And that could have, you know, you could pay for that easily with a sale or two if you had it work properly. I struggle with not having that leisure of having things. It's not easy to plug and play. They do have plugins on WordPress, like I mentioned, and a lot of them are for free, which is great. But sometimes it could be complicated. And again, I don't want to bog down my site with many different things. And so having, you know, somebody create your own code is probably better for your site. But then I have to find somebody to create code for me. It's a mess, okay? So here's my, and by the way, for terms of SEO, both websites do just great in SEO. Okay, so FYI, as far as Google trying to find you and things like that. So, you know, to wrap up this video, you know, when it comes to Shopify versus WordPress, I think you've seen I can lean more towards Shopify for the ease of use, the ease of maintaining. Even though it costs more, if you actually do the math, I'm sure Shopify costs more with all the plugins and stuff you want to do. But I'm telling you, you don't know it yet. I personally believe with all the headache and the amount you have to pay later to somebody and all the stuff, it'll end up working itself out. Even if you're like, you know, I don't got money, I can't pay anybody to do anything from my WordPress site. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spend extra on it. But you will find yourself taking a very, very long time to implement something, and which is money, you know, lost in revenue, okay? And that technically is also just paying more because you're not making that money. I firmly believe that. I know it, you know. I've done some things to my website that have helped it convert better, and I knew I should have done it sooner, but just it's hard to find somebody to help me because I'm with WordPress. So it's almost like a plea, this video, not to use WordPress. I know that sounds negative, but it's just for the person that's like you know, I'm not a one woman show. I do have an assistant. I used to have another one, which was my husband. And so it's not like I'm operating this on my own, but I am not just the owner. I'm also very involved in my business as well. And so I'm still the designer, I'm still this and that. And so because I can't dedicate a lot of time to figuring this stuff out, I'd rather pay somebody to figure it out for me, and that's Shopify. And you know, I'll do another video if you guys want to hear. Let me know down below if you want me to do a video on Shopify versus another type of platform. I'd be happy to. Just let me know. I just feel very passionate about it because I went through so much. Literally, I used to have anxiety over this. It was so bad. Over my website. I don't want anybody to go through with it. Even my worst enemy. I don't want you to go through with it. It is a lot. I remember talking to my husband about it. I'm like, do you remember back when I was doing my website? He goes, yeah, it was so stressful. I have a better handle on things, and some things certainly take me a lot of time to implement. It just depends. But as far as the maintenance part, I'm getting better at it. It's just quite a learning curve. And the reality is, we're business owners. For the most part, we're solo. We don't have time for this learning curve, right? I know we don't have a lot of money to throw money at our problems and say, yeah, just, you know, but you will find that you'll lose revenue for the most part if you don't pay Shopify monthly. Anyway, again, like I said, this video is not sponsored, but if you use a link down below for a Shopify 14-day free trial, I get credit for it. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me. You don't have to, but if you do want to sign up for Shopify, use the link. It'll help me out. But in terms of WordPress, I will say this. If you are more tech savvy in web development, then I would absolutely recommend WordPress. Why? Because the issues I have with it, guys, the biggest issues is maintenance and understanding how to adjust something for my website when I don't have much tech savviness. But if you are tech savvy and when it comes to it, then it's absolutely fine. I think it's fantastic because it does save you costs. If, you know, I make money each month on my website, but for people that are new, they may not. And, you know, being charged monthly is definitely helpful for that reason. I just think that if you're gonna sacrifice not paying anything for a hard website that's hard to learn and hard to deal with, it's not worth the problem. It's not worth the headache, in my opinion. Hope you take my advice, and that's it. Okay, guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more videos like this, videos on business, you know, growing your own business online and, you know, personal development, finance, all that good stuff, then subscribe down below and hit the notifications bell so you know when I actually post when I post. And if you love this video, give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. It helps me out on YouTube. Have people find my video more and more. Okay, guys? I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.